Coming up on Mountain News this morning, we take a look at the long list of requirements for some medical practices that began opening back up yesterday. And state officials say they will resolve many of the issues with those facing obstacles with Kentucky's unemployment system by the end of the week. Plus, we'll show you how recently approved disaster funding will be used to help those affected by flooding that tore through eastern Kentucky earlier this year.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Lacey Roberts. Thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, and it's shaping up to look like a pretty nice day outside. Let's go ahead and bring in Brandon Robinson to give us a look at our day. Yesterday turned out to be really nice, hoping the same thing can happen today.
Picture perfect yesterday. Unfortunately, I think we got a little bit of rain first today, so kind of a half and half type day. I think later today will be better than earlier this morning. Let's take a look at that rain live pinpoint down the radar and some heavier bands coming through parts of the area. I'm going to take you a little closer and get a better look at it. You see basically from Moorhead down through parts of Morgan County, right there along the Elliott and then Johnson and Magoffin County line, going through Floyd into Pike counties this morning, just north of Pikeville, coming in on Paintsville. So again, so folks seeing some decent rain, some decent showers this morning. Temperatures kind of a swing. Down to the south, they had less cloud cover overnight. They're starting to build in now, but that's allowed them to get a little bit cooler. Most of us close to 50 this morning across the area. Your out the door forecast, we are going to see temperatures that are close to 50 heading toward the low 70s this afternoon as those rain chances start to ease up after lunchtime, and we see skies clear later today. The rest of the forecast on the way here in a few minutes. Lacey.
Thank you, Brandon. Several eastern Kentucky families are now homeless after an apartment fire. It happened in Martin County. The Martin County Sheriff's Office says it was at the Old Rainbow Inn on Old Route 3. He says everyone managed to make it out of the building safely, but many of them now have nowhere to live. The Inez Fire Department managed to contain the fire. And federal funding was opened up last Friday after President Trump approved of Kentucky's emergency declaration from February's widespread flooding. So where exactly does that money go? The public assistance, which was approved, goes to reimburse local governments for repairs to things such as roads and mudslides. Individual assistance would go directly to people who have met the criteria to qualify, but that is still under review. In Harlan County, Judge Executive Dan Mosley says that he's thankful the funding came when it did.
Really, in this time, with all that's going on with COVID-19 and the declining revenues governments are experiencing, any help is greatly appreciated. Like I said, I'm just hopeful that the individual assistance comes through with this because there are a lot of people that need that help.
There are roughly between 50 and 70 people that could qualify for individual assistance in Harlan County alone if it is available. And Eastern Kentucky University is announcing furloughs due to COVID-19, the pandemic crisis. 60 positions are being furloughed from May 1st, to August 1st. Those employees will still have the option to maintain their health benefits. They will also be able to file for unemployment. This comes as a university is expecting a more than $70 million loss in its 2020 budget. And state officials say that they will resolve many of the issues with those applying for or receiving unemployment by the end of the week. Many people tell us despite trying to apply that they are still having no luck. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to several of them yesterday about the frustration and just the lack of results.
Empty parking lots at retailers, closed posters, all signs of a shutdown economy. Other signs are those still waiting in the virtual unemployment line.
I called the governor and left a message with his constituent liaison, never got an answer.
Paula Simonton Alexander lost her job as a substitute teacher in Fayette County March 19th. She's yet to receive any unemployment.
I was caller 1022. And that if I wanted to hold, I could, and that my wait time would be approximately 6 hours or longer.
The phone calls went up to 1 million per day, and that at the best, I should be prepared for 2 to 3 weeks before anybody even calls me back.
And for many people, it's simply the amount of time that they've had to wait. We talked to one woman who told me that she waited on hold for more than 6 hours. She was afraid to do anything or go anywhere in fear that someone was going to call her back. And she says when someone finally did call her back, that person had absolutely no answers for her specific situation.
Small man is begging for just a little stipping.
Chris Lang says
If
he
you
worked in
really
manufacturing. He did get his first payment, but is running into roadblocks receiving any more.
It now says that I'm back under a protest.
And I have type 1 diabetes, and it's due to fill my prescription. Insulin's sort of expensive. It's like I've gone through all my savings.
The governor promised over the weekend that anyone who filed in March will get results by the end of this week. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
And some healthcare-related facilities reopened yesterday here in Kentucky, referred to as Phase 1. Things like dentist offices, chiropractors, and a handful of other services are back and operational, but things are different. At Fugate Family Chiropractors in Perry County, they are no longer allowing people to wait in the waiting room. Patients are wearing masks while staff are doubling up on them, and services are being cleaned every time someone leaves the room. And Kentucky's nursing homes are getting hit especially hard right now. 6 residents at Jackson Manor Nursing Home have died from COVID-19. The Cumberland Valley District Health Department says at least 51 of the county's cases are connected to that nursing home. But some good news this morning. One employee is home after being hospitalized. Grace Feiner has her story.
Jackson County Senior Living Assistant Director of Nursing Charity Boland says all employees took precautions. It wasn't enough to stop the virus.
A call from one of my coworkers that said we had a positive coworker for COVID-19. And so I called the doctor right away the next morning and I said, hey, you have to test me.
Boland tested positive along with 50 others to date at the facility. When symptoms worsened and Boland headed to UK Medical Center, she knew it would be the battle of her life.
What's wrong? And I said, I'm going to be here for a while. I was scared. Very scared.
Boland spent time in the ICU, her body struggling to keep oxygen levels up. She was put on high-flow oxygen, which she says is the last step before intubation. It worked.
There you are. You ever think you'd see outside again?
Sunday, she left the hospital after 15 days there.
Nothing was wrong because I was so grateful to not only be coming home, but to have my life, because I know people died while I was at the hospital.
Grace Feinerman, WYMT Mountain News.
Bowling says that she's documented her journey on Facebook, and she says that she wants others to see her story so that they understand how dangerous the virus can be.
All right, now it's time for our daily Helpers and Heroes segment, where we continue to highlight more of our frontline folks from across the region. Let's go to our first picture this morning, and that's from Trish, submitted by Trish, and it's Alicia Rogers. She is a cashier at the Quality Foods location in Regina over in Pike County. So thanks to her. Our next submission comes to us from Donnie, and I hope I pronounced their name right. This is his wife, Wendy Infuse. I think that's the way you say it. If it's not, I'm sorry about that, Donnie and Wendy. She's a nurse and director of home health services at ARH. Donnie tells us Wendy is a very caring individual and loves her family and friends. He also says he is very proud of her. And finally today we highlight 2 people. Brett Thacker submitted this picture of his wife, Kaylee, who is a paramedic for Lifeguard Ambulance Service over in Floyd County. He wanted to give her the recognition because of the dangers she faces every day in the field. Brett added that she is the bravest person that he knows. Well, while Brett didn't want any acknowledgement, I'm going to give it to him anyway. He is a nurse in the emergency room at Highlands ARH in Prestonsburg, also putting his safety at risk. I'd say they're both pretty brave in my book. So what we just showed you, like we've showed you every day for the last about week and a half or so, is people working on the front lines, not just healthcare workers, people working at nursing homes, people working in grocery stores. So if you want to submit those pictures to us, make sure you give us a little bit of info, where they're from, tell us a little bit about them so we can showcase them right here on the air. You can go over to WIMT.com and search for the Helpers and Heroes link on the website. Lacey?
Thank you, Brandon. I think that's my favorite part of the morning. And thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Coming up, we'll tell you why masks are going to play a large part, a role in taking steps to reopen Kentucky's economy next month.